and Dr. Venkatesh for our webinar with great pleasure and gratitude for their joining this webinar online. Friends, this is my great pleasure again that senior members from our association, Belgaum chapter, as well as the outsiders, very senior, the first D.A. Hiramat sir, and I am equally very happy that my senior in the department and my close friend, Mr. S.K. Bhatt has joined today. After a long time, I am getting him here. He has joined from Bengaluru chapter. It is my pleasure to welcome him, especially for this webinar. And I welcome Dr. Ugarkar and all other members from our from other chapters who are already joined and who are going to join us again in the course of our presentations. Friends, in fact, it is proper to remember that last year also we had flood in North Karnataka and also problems of monsoon and floods and landslides in Kurg district of Karnataka. Again, this year also we are facing the same problem. Just last year we had a seminar on climate changes. And that was a very successful seminar. You know, all of you know very well that it was welcomed by almost all the people in various ways, and they greeted us for conducting such a seminar. But this year, when we got the same problem of floods in the monsoon and also a landslide in the Kurg district, when we decided to hold a webinar, it was considered the right time and the right choice to take up the topic for discussion. You know very well that both are related to geological studies. The floods as well as the landslides. And the management of floods and the management of landslides are again very much connected to the geological studies and advice from geologists to those who are connected to managing these problems in the field. Many times this year, when I heard that in Kurg district, the landslide has occurred on a large scale, and one of the reasons is also felt that there were some infiltration ponds constructed on the top of the hill or on the slope of the hill without, which were not a proper locations. Of course, I have not gone to the spots, but I have heard and I have also read in the papers. But when such being the cases, it is the right time for us to consider all these things, because even while constructing of the roads, I have many times I have told, along the Ghat section, if we expose the loose strata, the orientation of the road is a wrong thing in that. We should avoid exposing wrong loose strata while selecting the orientation of roads, either whether it is maybe in lateritic terrain where the clay is exposed, or in any other terrain where the loose strata is exposed, or along this stripe. Such problems will arise and we have to solve such problems. Again, in floods, we have to definitely calculate the density of rainfall and the volume of inflow in the rivers and into the dam side, reservoirs, how much we have to leave and when we have to leave the water and how much we can save for the future. All these things are important for technical aspects, and I don't want to go too much details at this stage. I am very happy that we have Dr. Prakash to speak on the particularly the disaster control and management and advice, as he is a man specialized, and he was the director of disaster monitoring cell in Karnataka, and he was a founder member and director. We are very lucky to have you, sir, on this occasion with us. I welcome you once again with a special invitation, and also I express my excellent and jubilant mood to have you with us on this occasion. Again, Dr. Venkatesh is our close friend here in NIH, and he comes many times to my neighbor, who is a common friend to us. I welcome you, sir, once again, and I request our secretary to go ahead with the agenda for our webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Once again, I welcome you all on behalf of MEI Belgaum chapter, on behalf of NIH, and on behalf of Geology Department, JSS College Belgaum. Thank you. I request Sagar Wagmare, our treasurer, to introduce today's chief guest speaker, Dr. V.S. Prakash, sir. Sagar.
Thank you. Thank you. It is a great, consider the great privilege to be amongst you, Dr. Pramod, Dr. Purandar Bekal, and Venkatesh. It's a great, nice feeling to be with amongst you, and I'm very happy to see SK Bhatt, and really after a long time, I'm just seeing him virtually. Physically, we have not met each other for some time, quite a long time. 1973-74 in state government. Nice to see Dr. S.K. Bhatt. Well, today, we are here to discuss, reflect upon, introspect some of the things which is happening around us. And this program is taking place in Belgaum, and memory goes back. Those days when this NIH was started in Belgaum. So, Mr. Shankaranand, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Shankaranand, Union Minister for Water Resources, he took keen interest in setting up NIH in Belgaum. Well, he was had his own idea and the need for a center in Belgaum because that area was hydrologically as our respected president was talking in the opening remarks, there is too much and too little. No, the water was a real issue there, and there is the time. Well, he felt the need of having NIH in Belgaum, and incidentally, I had the privilege and opportunity of interacting with Shankaran, Mr. Shankaran sir at that time. For various reasons, I was in Central Promoter Board, and I had the opportunity. My chairman had given me the responsibility of interacting with the minister, not in a very personal. I mean, it is official, official connections only, because I remember that he belongs to Chikkodi, I think, and he had a land. Well, he had lands there, and he has two sons. Om Prakash Kanagiri, he was the minister. Later, became minister. Another son was a chemical engineer. They had land, and in spite of drilling several borewells, and the failures were very common. All the borewells were going failure. Being a minister for Union Water Resources, and he approached our chairman, and chairman finally, the responsibility was on my shoulder to go and look into the issue problem and see what best can be done. Well, I just came there and worked there for about 15 days, I remember. And well, the problem was resolved. Then they had land in Kittur and extensive 30, 40 acres, and there was no water. In spite of drilling several bore wells, it was all failure for transporting water through bullock cart and irrigating the mango mm, garden which they had made there. So again, worked for about 10, 15 days, and well, the problem was resolved. What I mean is, in our career, it is not because you are union minister. No, I spent 10, 15 days there. That was the norm. The escape bird is there, and that was the norm. That was the day. That was the way we used to do those days. Any work we take up, unless we get an insight into it. There was no computer. There was no calculator. Whatever we need to do with a little resources, using our own intelligence, experience, wisdom, we used to try to guess the best insight and well, go ahead with no, then analytics. We used to do analytics with experience and wisdom, insight which we used to gain, and take a take a decision on what be the best option available at that time. So now, with so much of advancement in science and technology and access to information and available of so many sensors, the question is whether the problems have totally away from us. Still, in my perception, the problems all are still revolving around us. Revolving around us. What does it mean? It means that we are trying to do our best, but still we are yet to make a better insight into many of the issues around us. So it means that some sort of new learning is required, some sort of new discussion with the stakeholders, multi-stakeholders is required, a new learning, a discussion with the multi-stakeholders, involvement of the multi-stakeholders, learning mutually with each other. These are the things which are required. To my knowledge, it is happening, but not enough. A lot more needs to be done. Lot more needs to be done. Can I sharing my screen? Yeah. Shall I share my screen? Oh, yeah. Is that? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So what I'm going to share with you is some thoughts about the need for convergence between, I say departments, I include stakeholders also. So a lot of convergence is required. Well, it is there, as I said already, but a lot more needs to be done, in my opinion. So that requires convergence ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಮ್ಮುಖ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. No, we need to really sit together, discuss, understand the problem, get an insight, forget our difference of opinion. And if you have many options, and we need to really shortlist it and decide which option we need to go forward. I have just shown you a figure here. Consultation with the community is very, very important. Something the heart says, something my brain says. How to really link the heart and brain. It means this picture means a lot to me. Bringing the heart and mind together and working for a common cause. So these are the things which really look around. If you find frequent droughts, frequent flood, and drinking water issue is a perpetual problem. You just resolve the drinking water problem in a village, and maybe within some time, maybe a year or a couple of years, again there is a drinking water problem in the same village. If you look at the villages with the drinking water problematic villages, the numbers have not come down for the last 2 to 3 decades. The numbers have remained the same. Look at the tanks. For the last 2 to 2.5 decades, 3 decades, many of the tanks in many of the districts, hardly they are receiving any inflow. Where that water has gone? People say overall the rainfall is not much change is there. Annual rainfall by and large has remained the same. The temporal pattern there's a change in the temporal pattern, but nevertheless, many of the tanks are not getting the inflow which they used to get 2 to 3 decades back. There is a water problem, and now many people say the number of cattle have gone down, but in spite of it, the water problem is there. Something is beyond our managerial capabilities or beyond our understanding. This is a question. Uh, so all these things point to one thing: there is a requirement of minds coming together. The convergence of funds and efforts of stakeholders is playing a crucial role in anchoring the water smart. We call everything smart: smart city, water smart, smart agriculture, everything. How smart we are, because problems are plenty around us, but still we want to be as smart. How smart we can be. So this is the so several centrally and state-sponsored schemes of the government of India strive to improve the lives of farmers and community, farmers in particular, community in general. However, factors such as limited information, I stress again, limited information, keeping the community and the farmers in mind. So people say there is plenty of information around, but the next slides I will share with you, for limited information, illiteracy, if it is available, then something they don't know how to really understand it and take it into day-to-day life. And bureaucracy making accessing these schemes difficult for the farmers. Is it true? Is the bureaucracy is a hurdle? Then we need to sit with the bureaucracy, talk to them. In addition, these schemes exist in isolation, mostly dealing with only a certain aspect of a problem instead of the whole problem itself. Holistic view. Maybe whether it is are we missing the holistic view? This called for a platform of convergence to establish synergy in planning, process, and implementation to offer a holistic and integrated solution. Therefore, a new initiative to establish a common platform for the community, in government, stakeholders, multi-stakeholders to discuss, plan, implement government schemes, other schemes. Because I'm telling government schemes, I also say other schemes because there's a non-government sector is also contributing a lot in many of the programs. Look around. There are funds flowing in from many other agencies, and well, including them in a participatory manner. How exactly we can bring multi-stakeholders on a common platform, discuss each other, list out the options, synergy, well, and have a consensus arriving at a common accepted list to go ahead. So these are the things which are really required to be dealt with, in a very serious nature to have a new understanding. So need of the day, as I said, creating a common platform for the exchange of ideas and to facilitate a needs assessment based on climate risks and cropping pattern, facilitating participatory planning at individual and community level. Individual and community level. I'm just stressing it again. Are we doing it at individual community level? To my understanding, well, there is a lot more needs to be done when we say individual and community level. Probably we talk about the basin as a whole, agroclimatic zone, and a river basin as a whole. Probably it may not make much sense when we talk about individual and a community living in a village. Appointing community resource persons, we talk about it for a long time, but still it is a need of the day. Appointing community resource persons, training them in every Gram Panchayat, help with the modalities involved in the process of assessing the schemes, maybe filling the form, submitting supporting documents, follow up with the government, officials, non-government, etc. Well, how best we can develop the skills in the community itself by community resource persons and providing financial and technical support to farmers and community to enable the adoption of technology, providing technical inputs in preparing a detailed project report. Almost we need a project report for everything because when we need a project report is required. When you look around, project reports are developed overnight. Many of the, because I know I am in the Karnataka State Lakes and Tanks Conservation and Development Authority, project reports do come before us. Many of the reports are just copy and paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy. No, it's all thumb rule. No, just guess, assume some inflow, some assume hydrological parameters. A beautiful project report is conceived, brought, and it is presented for approval. When you look at it in detail, it is quite away, far away from the reality which prevails on the ground. And facilitating the construction of the proposed structure. If something is proposed, how really we can facilitate and making the proposed structure, establishing a community-led system for the operation and management of the structure. Community-led system, again stress here very much. Many people say already we have self-help group, we have water association, but how effective they are, in my opinion, they are there on the paper. That's all. Lot more needs to be done. These are the needs of the day. So probably, well, everything finally revolves around water, entire economy, agriculture, horticulture, industry. Now, any sector we take about, finally it boils down to water. How best we are, what is the endowment of water. So when we talk about the water, what is the hydrological cycle around me, the rainfall, the evaporation, evapotranspiration, the interception, the storage in terms of various surface water bodies, evapotranspiration, soil water, runoff, infiltration, percolation, groundwater. We know about it, and more than that, they started talking about the blue water and green water. And what is this green water? Is water available, but not in physical form which can be utilized. Are we creating more green water or blue water? Are we are we enhancing the operation losses? Are we enhancing the evapotranspiration losses? How best we have understood it? It is very dynamic. The hydraulic regime has undergone a big transformation. When we talk about it, probably it required a lot more serious introspection and a lot more serious thinking about it. Well, when we talk about hydrological cycle, no, there is a regional hydrological cycle, and on the contrary, there are small hydrological cycle, small water cycles. What do I mean by a small water cycle? It could be a hydrological cycle operating on a land parcel of about 2 acres. How good I am in understanding the hydrological cycle which operates on a small land holding. Is it not required? Without understanding, can apply regional synoptic understanding on a small land parcel? That's a question which I'm going to share with you. When I say share one of my experience, and well, what I did in about 10-acre land. It was completely mango trees, mango uh, farm, mango, and we have put up sensors to understand what exactly happening in the 10-acre. To our great surprise, the temperature difference within 10 acres was 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. That's nighttime temperature, not the daytime. So, which was it's a great, I was totally amazed. When you look at the literature, hardly we find, of such a, diverse, such a big change in the temperature. Because when we talk temperature, naturally, the temperature is more, evaporation is more, evapotranspiration is more, plant requires more water. And if I feed same amount of water, all the plant, well, some of the plant require more water compared to other plants where the temperature change is not that much. So that means that in a 10-acre land, one mango tree, the fruits are much more bigger, very tasty compared to other part, some of the trees in the same farm where the droppings of the seedlings are no from flower to seedling, that phase, the dropping of flowers, maybe it is not getting enough. What that means within a 10 acres, maybe we need to understand the, the hydrological cycle operating within 10 acres. The temperature, precipitation, soil moisture, evaporation, evapotranspiration, irrigation efficiency, water is efficiency, how much each plant requires. So how complex it is. So that's what I mean to then say microbial understanding. So here the data is required. When I make the data relevant, I move towards the knowledge and make sense of it. We go to the information, knowledge, I make it to information and act on it. When you have the wisdom, data gives me the context, and well, the knowledge, it leads me knowledge. Given meaning becomes information, knowledge becomes information. Given insight, I have information, and getting insight out of it becomes a wisdom. There is a data to wisdom is a long journey. In between, there is the experience, the trial, error, failures. So all these things really are involved in a journey from data to wisdom. So the water governance, supply side engineering has overshadowed demand side engineering. Everybody talks about supply side engineering. Well, I bring water from 100 kilometers away, 200 kilometers away from that canal. Water is being pumped to this area. And well, supply side engineering, how good are we in demand side engineering? Well, a lot more emphasis required to really address the issue of demand side engineering. So availability, about when I say availability, water, natural resources, is it same for last 4 decades? Well, when we talk about the resource availability, even we hardly see, the availability changing. The numbers, at least in the documents, we hardly see any change in the numbers. It says its availability remains the same, but physically we are finding less water available on the ground, in reality, in the field. Demand to match availability or not otherwise. See, we need to match the demand to availability, not no. Uh, 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 so the demand side management is very much needed now, but everybody is the glamour towards working towards supply side. There's a less glamour in working towards the demand side. No, if you go to anybody, you talk about demands, nobody will listen to you. Otherwise, if you just talk about supply side, everybody may listen to you. Supply side has a lot of money. Demand side hardly has any money. So crisis to crisis, we are moving from one crisis to another crisis. We seem to be simultaneously enlarging demand and destroying supplies. So I've just talked about it. Now we need to really understand it. So understanding the rain, and well, there were days when we used to have hardly few rain gauges, and there were the days when one rain gauge for every 354 square kilometer was thought to be enough. Now, well, when I came to now Karnataka on a deputation basis, we realized that rainfall need to be much more higher density. Now we got a rain gauge for every gram panchayat. Idea is to move forward, have a rain gauge for every village, revenue village. And why not? Rain gauge for every land parcel. Why not? Every farmer need to have a rain gauge. Understand, you need to be understand what is the rainfall over his land, land parcel, operations, things like that. Soil moisture, surface water bodies, groundwater, humidity, the blue water, green water, gray water, black water. The water we used to say is colorless. Now we are talking about understanding the blue water, green water, the gray water, black water. Black water, all of the which comes out of the industries, the effluent, we call it as a black water. The gray water is the domestic effluent. A lot more thinking is going on. Using the gray water, black water, recycling it, things like that. A lot more needs to be. So wisdom is the ability to use one's experience and knowledge in order to make sensible decision or judgment. So synonymous to wisdom is prudence, reason, sense, intelligence, understanding, learning, knowledge, insight, foresight, sound judgment. Opposite is stupidity, foolishness. So when we look around, probably how wise we are, how stupid we are. These are the questions we need to really sit together and so assessment, development, management of resources and what resources. When we talk about data availability, is very poor, almost negligible. Poor data, lack of understanding, knowledge gaps. There is a questionable wisdom. Thing which is not measured properly cannot be managed properly. What is the status of data analytics in water and agriculture, horticulture? And see, when you look at a monitoring of Sensex, there are so many people, real time monitoring of Sensex happens. Dissemination of what is the share price happens. But does it happen in the natural resources, including water? Data driven knowledge based construction has received considerable attention recently. So, when we talk about runoff, it's still empirical. We just numbers are assumed. That's what is happening even today, because even tank and river, sorry, lakes conservation. We do get proposals. Almost all of them, 100% are prepared based on thumb rule, 30% runoff. No, and they prepare a proposal saying that a lot of runoff is available into the tank, so tank need to be rejuvenated, and things like that. But a lot more. So this is again a concept of the blue water, gray water, and white water, whatever it is distributed all around. And how best we have understood these things and have said about it. Then hydrological cycle, much of it may not be able to say it properly, but there is a atmospheric pressure, evaporation, precipitation, surface water, surface storage, soil water, and groundwater. See, atmospheric water, then surface water, then the groundwater. So the distance between the surface water and groundwater, has it remained the same? We all know that it is not. For the last 3-4 decades, the distance between the surface water and groundwater has not remained the same. So there is a network of channels, rivers, lakes. A good understanding of all these things is a new understanding. I mean, is required because they're all the hydrological system is very dynamic. It has undergone big transformation. It is a now here again the soil type and how it is related. The porosity, the field capacity, the wilting point. How they are related? Wilting point is very important when, as far as the irrigation system is concerned, water efficiency is concerned, irrigation efficiency is concerned. It varies from soil to soil. Are we good enough to understand the soil distribution pattern in my land parcel, in my near neighborhood? How good I am? So these are the things which needs to be. And again, the rainfall intensity, rate of infiltration, volume of infiltration, soil moisture deficiency. Well, these are we learned it now 50 years back, 45, 50 years back when we were students again. And now still a new learning is required to understand all these things. As I said, the distance between the surface and groundwater, surface water and the groundwater, which was 4 decades back, and now there's a vast, you know, the, you know, the increase in the distance between surface and groundwater, the soil moisture and the groundwater. Hardly, in my opinion, in many of the instances, the groundwater is not getting recharged at all. But still, we presume that an amount of groundwater recharge every year, every season, and plan accordingly. So again, a community discussion is very much required. Convergence, it means intersect, join, merge, unite, come together, become one, coincide, concur, move towards a point, common point, focus on, close in on, be adjacent, come closer to, come together so as to form a single product, move or draw together at a certain location, approach a limit as the number of terms increases without limit. Because when we talk about this is convergent, to converge, it's very difficult to converge. Difficult to bring department, make the department converge together. Now there is a realization of collaboration, convergence, and there is a discussion going about it. And the government of Orissa has got a separate minister, a cabinet minister, to look after collaboration, convergence, coordination, convergence. So, and in some of the sector, health sector, they've got a scheme itself, a unit itself for collaboration convergence. Why not in other sector? Every Gram Panchayat need to have a unit to take care of the coordination convergence. So coordination is integrate, synchronize, harmonize, unite, combine, co-act. The organization of the different elements of a complex body or activity just enable them to work together effectively. The ability to use different parts of the body together smoothly and efficiency. What is coordination? Collaborate, work together, join forces, combine. When we just put together, converge, coordinate, collaborate. See, these are the things really. How good are we? Are these things happening? So maybe is the wishful thinking that maybe it happens. No, probably a lot more meaningful assets can be created. Many problems can be addressed when we have all the three convergence, coordination, and collaboration in place. So here, the science, administration, political system are all wheel within wheels. No, probably assume a gearbox in a vehicle. Probably there are many wheels. Unless these wheels sync together, the engine doesn't work properly. And when the engine doesn't work, the vehicle cannot move forward. So here, how really bring these three wheels, to work together? The political system, administration, science. No, unless I am very good in science, unless I am convinced myself, unless I have answered my own questions, and I can't go to administration convince them, and I can't go to political system convince them. This is my own experience. 20 years back, when I said we need to have engage understanding at a Gram Panchayat level, it was really, it took a lot of time for me, like a salesman of science, not other way around. I need to go around to people, visit them. Finally, it realized And well, now Karnataka is the only state in the entire Asian subcontinent to have a high density of network monitoring the weather system. So that's the one vertical pillar which is really Karnataka need to be proud of, which we really put in place. But it took 16 years for me to put it in system. And well, I had the complete support of the administration political system. I was there for 16 years as in the system, drought monitoring cell and Karnataka State Natural Disaster Monitoring Center, and well, converging and coordination, things like that. And well, still a lot more needs to be done. I think I should stop here. My idea was to really speak about the importance of convergence, coordination in whatever we are doing. I think I better I should stop here. I can continue for some more time.
One video we can have it.
Hello. Yeah, please. Yeah, you can have the video, please. I will come out of the screen. I will stop sharing. Yeah, I will stop sharing. You can play the video.
Professor Pramod.
Well, if time permits, I can show another couple of slides. But anyway, now we'll have a look at the.
No, time is there, sir. Time is there. You can.
Much more better science, better insight. Really be a part of the the solution side. We need to really adapt ourselves, bring much more coordination, convergence. Otherwise, well, stand alone or stay away. Probably, I just go around. We have discussed about it. No, we are talking about floods in Karnataka. Well, this is what has happened a couple of weeks back in Gurgaon. All the roads, the bus is completely submerged in water. This is what is happening in Warangal, Vijayawada, Warangal. You see water all around, roads, open area, all around the buildings, water everywhere. So, and again, this is what is happened in Kodagu. And well, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು 12 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಂದ ವಾಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರದೇಶ ಕುಸಿಯುತ್ತೆ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಗಿರಿ ಬೆಟ್ಟ. There is a landslide, Brahmagiri hill. The land mass slides down, the landslide. And the family who were living there over 350 years. Well, why? No, the people, the family who were living there, they were not illiterate. They were highly educated. Many of the family members were staying abroad. So somewhere, I think we have failed in bringing good science. Families certainly would have moved out of the place, move out. Well, that is difficult for anybody to convince them. Well, probably maybe better science could have been avoided this decision. This is the picture of a runoff measurement. I don't want to name the site. This is such a dilapidated condition. And we talk about the flow and we talk about our water management system. We can't, the gauges in it is not readable, not even readable, it's all broken. So anyway, there are going back, probably, when we look about convergence, when we sit together, there are optimists, there are pessimists. There are views, optimistic views, there are pessimistic views. Should we believe the optimist predictions or the pessimists? These are the questions which comes when we talk about convergence. When we look at any objective assessment, well, we can converge. Certainly we can converge. We need not be pessimist. We need not be optimist. It can be really objective. For this, we have discussed about it, bringing a good monitoring system to the weather, which, well, I was I feel a little bit satisfied looking back, designing and developing the system sensor, putting in all the Gram Panchayat, and it is working very well. Karnataka takes great pride in it even today. Now, probably data to information real time, putting a sensor in the Gram Panchayat, every Gram Panchayat. People see every day, the sensor is here. Well, they see, seeing is believing. So these are the sensors, and again, local community training them to really calibrate them and things like that. So this was when the sensor only one sensor in a particular taluk, and when we have multiple sensors, see how the red color is confined. It's shrunken. The decision making with this picture in mind, decision making with this picture in mind, is a totally different decisions emerge. No, probably this is what you are going to see a video promoting the community to make be barefoot scientists. Let them observe, let them measure, let them understand, let them be the sensors, let them observe and support us back and let them give us back end support. Why not? We need to really talk about it. Probably this is my rain, ನನ್ನ ಮಳೆ ಅಭಿಯಾನ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ರೈತರು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ಏನು ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ದಂಗೆ ಅವ್ರದೇ ಆದ ರೈನ್ ಗೇಜ್ ಹಾಕಿ ರೈನ್ ಫಾಲ್ನ ಮಳೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಪನ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರ ಜಮೀನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆ ಆಯ್ತು, ಅವರ ತೇವಾಂಶ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ನೀರು ಹರಿದೋಯ್ತು, ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ನೀರು ಅವ್ರು ಪಂಪ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. So these are the things which they are learning to decide themselves, taking a decision, sit together and take a decision, converge. Probably, multiple that. I just, when we talk about vulnerability, is a physical vulnerability, the economic vulnerability, the social vulnerability, emotional vulnerability. Understanding the risk and vulnerability, science has got a much more big role to play in understanding the risk and vulnerability. So it is, what is vulnerability means? Vulnerability is inability to resist hazard or to respond when a disaster has occurred. So, when Belgaum, I do remember the floods of 2009. Many of you must have forgotten, but I still remember. It was huge flood. Last year flood is much less compared to the 2009 flood. It is the flood which can happen probability of 1 in 1,000 years, 2009. It's happening every year now. We are vulnerable. But, the way we are responding, is not enough. So when we go to the household and capture their opinion, a different picture emerges than what we have understood. This is a household survey which was done. Probably when we took meteorological drought, the way we understand when you go to the community, for example, see here, this Yellada Kere, last 10 years, the community says 8 years they are drought. But when you look at the data, what I have, my data doesn't say that the community in the village have faced 8 out of drought, 8 out of 10 years. There are some villages, for example, here, Kereyagal Early is one village. All the 10 out of 10 years, the community has faced drought. By my document, whatever I have, it doesn't say, it doesn't reveal it. So working at community level, working at a village level is much more important than to understand the risk and vulnerability. I will just go through these pictures. I've just shown you, drinking water scarcity. So this is the one picture we talk about the improvement in the technology, the bringing all these technology, water conservation techniques. Probably here there is a small watershed. With all these things, I will just draw your attention. The stage of groundwater utilization, sorry, which was 524%, is now stands at 294%. What we expect it to be on safe side, is stage of groundwater utilization. We want it to be less than 80%. With all this intervention, we could able to bring it down from 524% to 294%. But it is still much more. This vulnerability is much more because we desirable is 80% and it's almost 300, 294. That means still risk. So I'm investing a lot of money, but increasing my risk. So that indicate the distress which the community faces. How really, we need to address this issue. We have brought the technology, but risk is more. Risk is much more than. So let me, and again the groundwater. Groundwater is the least understood. What is the amount of quantity pumped? What is the static water level? What is the pumping water level? What is the specific capacity? Hardly we know. Hardly we know. The farmer invests money in drilling a borewell, but he doesn't know health of his borewell. He doesn't know when the borewell is going to die. Is it not required to really understand the health of the borewell? So we really, it is required. It is required. So made an attempt 2 months back, probably some of you must have read in the newspaper. We developed a sensor to understand the static water level, pumping water level, specific capacity, the quantity of water pumped, the voltage, and we could develop a map like this. And really, these are the bore wells, the red color, which are falling in the red zone, which are going to die probably in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months. Probably once I make a prognosis, I can tell the farmer where this borewell stands, how healthy his borewell is. Just like a doctor make a prognosis, it can be done. It is not being done. So water policy has come out for Karnataka this January. I was a member of the committee. This concept of well card I proposed very vehemently. Government, accepted it. I really need to flag it and very aggressively, take it forward. Nowadays, the 800 sensors are being, installed in region by region. And probably there is another issue. How much cost is it? I don't want to get into that, but much more, much more less cost. It can be done. Only is awareness. Like we are sitting together, discussing it. When we discuss together, it can be done much more meaningful. And the borewell can be really made. So when we talk about river system, this is one example. I am showing one river. The annual flow is one third of what it was in 1970, 77, 78, 80, 82. And today, the annual flow is one third of what it was, 30, 40, 50 years back. So, so the availability is dwindling. So, and again, we are talking about climate change. Now, when we say climate change, it has an impact on more evaporation, warmer ocean, more precipitation in some places, so stronger storms, warmer ocean, melting snow, changing conditions, plants and animals, changing seasonal pattern, shift ranges and migration, and Earth absorbs more energy and more droughts and more intense rain. All these things know, are are goes hand in hand when we talk about climate change. It is happening, and how good are we to adapt to the climate change? So probably let me move forward. Risk assessment, risk evaluation. You talked about it. So when we talk about risk and vulnerability, we sit together and discuss, and we put a question. Many may say yes. Some people may say no. May they may not agree. Are we prepared to listen to the people who say no, why they don't agree, and understand their opinion? And when we talk about providing society, community, what we intend to give to them, we can provide them what we are providing. So what is required? Monitor and move forward, understand the problem, identify and appraise options, deliver the solutions, why, what, how, interrelationship between the documents. These are the things which can come up and only with convergence and coordination, collaboration. So let me move forward and go to this house. So these things can happen once we have reliable data with us and analytics, descriptive analytics, analytics that helps in understanding. It is information. It gives me information. It is clarity. And why is something happening? So inquisitives help in what is like future. Prescriptive analytics that help in responding. So what? Now what? Things like that. Preemptive analytics. They have many options and really how really and really narrow down the options before me. So these are the things which you need to really seriously think about it. Analytics and move from empirical to data analytics. So as we have discussed about it, much more insight, better insight, probably we will be able to really deliver our expectation much more better way. And well, here is a R.K. Lakshman cartoon, and without really understanding whose pulse it is, how we can make a. I can really, I need to share with you. And when we were the registrar in Triple ITV, we had a e-health program. We invited Devi Shetty, Dr. Devi Shetty, Narayana Hridayalaya, and he was sharing one. He said when any doctor, when you want to make a prognosis, diagnosis, a doctor is supposed to ask 58,000 questions to the patient. 58,000 questions to make a progress in diagnosis. But still, see how many questions we pose to ourselves and amongst us in prognosis and diagnosis and moving forward in really, making a decision about many things around us. Maybe a lot of convergence, many more questions need to be addressed. A learning experience, excellence is required. That requires a lot of, a convergence, coordination, and collaboration. So I think I've shared few more slides which I wanted to share with you. I will come and stop sharing the slides. Yeah, are we ready to share the video?
Hello.
ಆಂಜನೇಯ ರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ರೈತ.
Hello.
ಆಂಜನೇಯ ರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ರೈತ, ನಾಯನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಗ್ರಾಮ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರ ತಾಲೂಕು. ಇವತ್ತು ಜಲ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರ ಅನುಭವ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ 1900 ಆಂಜನೇಯ ರೆಡ್ಡಿ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ರೈತ, ನಾಯನಹಳ್ಳಿ ಗ್ರಾಮ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರ ತಾಲೂಕು. ಇವತ್ತು ಜಲ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರ ಅನುಭವ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾನು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ 1990ರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಟುಂಬ ಸುಮಾರು 11 ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿದ್ವಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೊದಲೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯರು ಕಲ್ಲು ಕಟ್ಟಡದ ಬಾವಿಗಳು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಗರಂಡ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟು ಬೋರುಗಳು ಇವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಹಾಕಿ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ವಿಫಲ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬೋರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ವಿ. 300 ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಂತ ನೀರು ಇವತ್ತು 1800 ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಸುಮಾರು 11 ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು ನಮಗೆ ನೀರು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಕೇವಲ 3 ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್. ಇವತ್ತು 30 ಎಕರೆ ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಮಾಡುವಷ್ಟು ಭೂಮಿ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೇವಲ 6 ಎಕರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಈ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ, ಜಲ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ, ಅಂತರ್ಜಲ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ, ಜಲಾನಯನ ಪ್ರದೇಶದ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ, ಕೆರೆಗಳ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ, ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಪುನಶ್ಚೇತನ, ಪುನರುಜ್ಜೀವನ, ಚೆಕ್ ಡ್ಯಾಂಗಳ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ ಮತ್ತು ಚೆಕ್ ಡ್ಯಾಂಗಳ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಫಲವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದವ, ನಮ್ಮ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತರ್ಜಲವನ್ನು ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡಿದವ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಂತ ಅನುಭವದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಅಂತರ್ಜಲದ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲ ಗ್ರಾಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ 20 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ನಾವು ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರಿನ ವಿಚಾರ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ, ಅವತ್ತಿನ ಕುಡಿಯುವ ಸಮಸ್ಯಾತ್ಮಕ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಬೇಸಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮೂಲಗಳಿಂದ ಒದಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಆ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಇವತ್ತು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿದೆ. ಆದ್ರೂ ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರಿಗಾಗಿ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊರೆಸ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಹಾರವನ್ನು ಕಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಇವತ್ತು ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರನ್ನ ಅದೇ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಿಂದ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಪೂರೈಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇವತ್ತು ಅನೇಕ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಸಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಭಾಗಗಳಿಂದ ಟ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಒಡೆದು ಇವತ್ತು ನೀರನ್ನು ಕೊಡುವಂತ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ಬರಗಾಲದ ವಿಚಾರ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು 12 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ನಿರಂತರವಾದಂತ ಬರಗಾಲ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಕೊಳವೆ ಬಾವಿಗಳು ವಿಫಲ, ರೈತರು ಕೊಳವೆ ಬಾವಿಗಳು ವಿಫಲ ಆಗುವಂತ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ರೈತರು ಆ ಕೊಳವೆ ಬಾವಿಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರೋದು ಹಣನೂ ಸಹ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ರೈತರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿರೋ ಹಣವನ್ನೇನಾದ್ರೂ ಕ್ರೋಢೀಕರಣ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಕೋಟಿಗಳಿಗೆ ತಲುಪುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಒಂದು ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತಿಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ನಾವು ರೈತರು ಕೂತು ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ, ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆದಾಗ ಅನಿಸಿಕೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಒಂದು ಸಮುದಾಯದ ಸಹಭಾಗಿತ್ವ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಈ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳಿದಾವಲ್ಲ, ಈಗ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಕೃಷಿ ಇಲಾಖೆಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತದೆ, ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರನ್ನ ಒದಗಿಸುವಂತದ್ದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ಹಾಕಿಸಿ ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರು ಪೂರೈಕೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದು RDPR ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಪಂಚಾಯತಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಮೈನರ್ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳಿಂದನೂ ಹಲವಾರು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳು ನಡೀತಾ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಚೆಕ್ ಡ್ಯಾಂಗಳನ್ನ ಹಾಕುವಂತದ್ದು ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವ ಅವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಹೀಗೆ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಇಲಾಖೆಗಳು ಒಂದು ಸಹಭಾಗಿತ್ವ ಮತ್ತು ಸಮರ್ಪಣಾ ಮನೋಭಾವದಿಂದ ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಕೂತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಒಂದು ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಒಂದು ಬ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ತಯಾರಿಸಿ, ಆ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಜಲಾನಯನ ಏನು ನಾವು ವಾಟರ್ ಶೆಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಒಂದೊಂದು ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ವಾಟರ್ ಶೆಡ್ಗೂ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಆದಂತ ಒಂದು ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ರೈತರನ್ನೂ ಸಹ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬೆಳೆಗಳೆಷ್ಟು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಬೆಳೆಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ನೀರು ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ದನ ಕರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಕುಡಿಯೋಕೆ ನೀರೆಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕು, ಅಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಕುಡಿಯುವ ನೀರೆಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ನಾವು ವ್ಯವಸಾಯದಲ್ಲೂ ನೀರನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಂತ ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ್ರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಭೂಜಲ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರು KSNBMCಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಏನು ಫೌಂಡರ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು, ಅವರ ಸಹಕಾರವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಇದೀವಿ. ರೈತರು ಅನೇಕ ಸಾರಿ ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಸಾರಿ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅವರು ರಾತ್ರಿ 12 ಗಂಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ತೆಗಿತಾರೆ. ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ತೋಟಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಈ ಫೋರ್ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ವೆದರ್ ಫೋರ್ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ರೈನ್ ಮಳೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಮಾತನಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಳೆಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸೂಕ್ತವಾಗಿ ನೀರನ್ನ ಇನ್ನೂ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಬಳಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಕೇವಲ ಡ್ರಿಪ್ ಮಾಡುವುದು ಒಂದರಿಂದನೇ ನಾವು ನೀರು ಉಳಿತಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಮಾಯಿಶ್ಚರು, ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರು, ಹ್ಯುಮಿಡಿಟಿ ಇವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನಾನು ನಾವು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮಳೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ನೀರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು 40% ಅಂತರ್ಜಲವನ್ನು ಏನು ನಾವು 1800 ಅಡಿಯಿಂದ ತೆಗಿತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 40% ಅನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಉಳಿತಾಯ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಮಳೆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನೂ ಸಹ ನಾವು ಅಳವಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ನನ್ನ ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ನನ್ನ ತೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆಯನ್ನು ಇಂಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆಯನ್ನು ಶೇಖರಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ವಾಟರ್ ಶೆಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆ ಬಂತು. ಇವತ್ತು ಮಳೆ ಎರಾಟಿಕ್ ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ. ನಾವು 10 ವರ್ಷದ ಮಳೆಯನ್ನು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ 2015, 17, 19ರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಪರೀತವಾದಂತ ಮಳೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೋಲಾರ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಇಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ 3800 ಕೆರೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ 380 ಕೆರೆಗಳೂ ಸಹ ಕೋಡಿ ಹೋಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಕಾರಣ ಏನು? ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಐತೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಳೆ? ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ಯಾಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಸಂಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ? ಯಾಕೆ ಆ ಕೆರೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಹರಿದು ತರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಕಾಲುವೆಗಳು, ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ ಯಾಕೆ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ? ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಕೆರೆಗಳ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಕೇವಲ ಕೆರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳೆತ್ತುವುದಾ, ಅಥವಾ ಕೆರೆಗೆ ನೀರು ಹರಿದು ತರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಲ್ಲ ಆ ಕಾಲುವೆಗಳನ್ನು ಪುನಶ್ಚೇತನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ, ಆ ನೀರನ್ನು ಹರಿದು ತರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಂತ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಪ್ರದೇಶವನ್ನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ? ಹೀಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ರೈತರ ಜೊತೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಆಗು ಹೋಗುಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಸರಿಯಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಮುನ್ನಡೆದ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳಕು ಕಾಣುವಂತ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ ಹೊರತು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ನಾವು 20-30 ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಜಲಾ 1, ಸುಜಲಾ 2, ಈಗೆಲ್ಲೋ ಸುಜಲಾ 3 ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಚೆಕ್ ಡ್ಯಾಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ನೀರಾವರಿ ಸುಸ್ಥಿರ ಜಲಾನಯನ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಕೋಟಿ ಖರ್ಚಾಗಿದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಸರ್ಕಾರೇತರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಸಹ ಈ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ರೈತರ ಬದುಕು ಮಾತ್ರ ಮೂರಾಬಟ್ಟೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ರೈತರು ಈ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ಜೂಜಿಗೆ ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ವಿಧಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಅಂತರ್ಜಲವನ್ನು ಬಗಿತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇವತ್ತು ದಿನೇ ಅದು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಅಂತರ್ಜಲ ಪಾತಾಳಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇವಲ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 5-10 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಕುಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೂ ನೀರು ಸಿಗದಿಲ್ವೇನೋ ಅನ್ನುವಷ್ಟು ಭಯ ಇವತ್ತು ಕಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಒಂದು ಸಮನ್ವಯತೆಯಿಂದ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬಹಳ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಆ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿರಿಯರು, ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿಗಳು ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸಹಕಾರ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ವಿನಂತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಜಲಜಾಕ್ಷಿ ಹನುಮಂತು ಅಂತ. ನಮ್ಮ ಊರು ನಾಯನಹಳ್ಳಿ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರ ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಕು. ನಾನೊಬ್ಬ ರೈತ ಮಹಿಳೆ. ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಳೆ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಒಂದು ಮಾಪನ ಥರ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ಲು. ಒಂದು 8-10 ಇಟ್ಕೆ, ಒಂದು 2 ಲೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಬಾಟಲು, ಒಂದು ಫೆನಲ್ಲು. ಮತ್ತು ನೋಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನು ಡೈಲಿ ನಾನು ನಮಸ್ತೆ, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಜಲಜಾಕ್ಷಿ. ಹನುಮಂತು ಅಂತ. ನಮ್ಮ ಊರು ನಾಯನಹಳ್ಳಿ, ಚಿಕ್ಕಬಳ್ಳಾಪುರ ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಕು. ನಾನೊಬ್ಬ ರೈತ ಮಹಿಳೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಳೆ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಒಂದು ಮಾಪನ ಥರ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ಲು, ಒಂದು 8-10 ಇಟ್ಟಿಗೆ, ಒಂದು 2 ಲೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಬಾಟಲು, ಒಂದು ಫೆನಲ್ಲು. ಮತ್ತು ನೋಡಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಡೈಲಿ ನಾನು ಈ ಥರ ಬೀಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಈ ಥರ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ನಾನು. ಇದನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದೆಯೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರು ಜಲವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಡೈಲಿ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದೆಯೋ ಅದನ್ನು, ಈಗ 100 ml ಬಂದಿದ್ದರೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರೆ ಇದು 1 or 2 ml ಬಂದಿದ್ರೂ ನಾನು ಈ ಸಿರಿಂಜರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಡೈಲಿ ಈ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀನಿ. ಈ ಥರ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನವೂ ಅರ್ಲಿ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗು 6 AM to 6 PM ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಸಪೋಸ್ ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ ಏನಾದರೂ ಬಂದಿದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮೆಷರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ, ಆಫ್ಟರ್ನೂನು. ಈ ಥರ ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಡೈಲಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಮಳೆ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ 0 ಹಾಕಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ಥರ ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ನೋಡಿ ಯಾರು ಬೇಕಾದರೂ ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಥರ ಸಿಂಪಲಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೋದು. ₹1 ಖರ್ಚಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ ಡೈಲಿ ಮಳೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮತ್ತು ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಾಸರಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆ ಬಿದ್ದಿದೆ, ಮತ್ತು ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ ಬೆಳೆಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಳೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೂ ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು. ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡೆ ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇದು ಒಂದು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ನೋಡಿ ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಂತರನೇ ಬೇರೆ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು. ನಮಸ್ತೆ.
Yeah, I mean, we need to really let me reiterate by saying that this convergence, coordination, and this should be taken up in a much more meaningful way. And involving community is, in my opinion, is very, very important. And making them involving themselves and supporting us, all the back-end support, community need to be trained, and they are prepared. Most of them are prepared, and that's how we can make a new learning. And many of the issues which we are facing, we can have a new learning to the next generation. Probably we need to leave something back. Whatever I have learned 40-50 years back, it has become redundant. New learning is required. So this is how I can think we can start making a new learning and make the community enable as a stakeholder in decision making also. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Friends, just now we have heard a beautiful talk enlightening how to prepare and assess our groundwater resources, water governance. He has even touched upon risks and vulnerability. Okay, considering all the hazard preparedness involving community, etc. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. I request the next, we have Dr. B. Venkatesh. I request Yogesh Kutre to introduce our second speaker. Please unmute Yogesh.
Good morning, one and all. It's my immense pleasure to introduce today's speaker, scientist Mr. Venkatesh B. from National Institute of Hydrology. His research interests are broadly in the area of rainfall runoff modeling, forest hydrology with special emphasis on dynamic of soil moisture, assessing impact of climate change, modeling of flood dynamics, etc. His work has received extensive funding from DST, MOES, MOF, UNESCO, Ford Foundation, and Ministry of Water Resources. He has also been a consultant to several organizations, including KPCL, Government of Karnataka, Government of Maharashtra, NTPC, Government of Madhya Pradesh, and NPCL. He has been involved in imparting training to the engineers from Water Resources Department from different states of the country on hydrological data monitoring and processing using dedicated softwares. Sir has published many technical reports and papers and also supervising 6 PhD works. Sir has been awarded with many fellowships and honored as the distinguished engineer by the Institute of Engineers. Sir, presently working as Scientist F and head at Regional Center of National Institute of Hydrology. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your nice introduction. I'll start sharing my screen. First of all, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Purandara, Dr. Pramod, and Dr. Hegde sir for giving me an opportunity to be part of this webinar. And also, I thank and no, it's in fact a very pleasure to listen Dr. Prakash sir. We have been talking over the phone for several times, but virtually at least we are meeting him after a long gap. Maybe when myself and Dr. Purandara met him when he was the director at KSNMDC. Thereafter, we are just talking over phone, but we didn't get any opportunity to see each other and meet each other. I hope very soon after this pandemic is subsided, we'll be having an opportunity to meet Prakash sir. And as Prakash sir explained, many of the aspects of the water resources management and other issues. Now I'm trying to put it across to all the participants and the listener with regards to the floods and flood mapping, because we all know that the floods have become as a formal life of ours in many of the areas of Karnataka, which once regarded as non-flood areas are the having a very low risk of floods. But at least in Belgaum district, we had floods sometime in 2008 and 9. Thereafter, we were a little relaxed. But the last 2 years, we have been facing very severe floods. Maybe because of the many other issues. Let us not speak much about it. We'll see as and when I make a presentation, we will have some sort of information or discussion. With this background, now let us look at what are the possible causes of flood. Whether it is a natural flood or an anthropogenic flood or any other thing. And how we can prepare ourselves in advance to have to minimize the problems or the loss of life or physical property or anything. What are the methods which are presently available with us to do that? How we can prepare ourselves in respect of minimizing losses. I'm just through this presentation, I like to give you some information about it. And also I like to present some of the case studies which NIH has undertook in the recent past. And I like also to give some, throw some light on the methods of computing the flood values and how we can convert these flood values into mapping them on the downstream of other area of interest. To start with, this I am not going to explain already. Dr. Prakash sir has already given a beautiful explanation on hydrology cycle. This, of course, at a global scale or a larger scale, we talk about the hydrology cycle. But just I want to give an information about the water availability on the earth. And this all, as a hydrologist and the people who are working in the hydrology as well as geologists, this is a very basic information with which we start our course in our basic degrees. And I just want to give one information that out of 1 lakh liter of global water, we have only 6.7 liter of fresh water, which is which is available on the river, groundwater, and other places. And this 6.7 liters is causing a havoc across the world, and also makes us our life difficult on one end. On the other end of the gradient, we have the life. It makes very beautiful and convenient to live. Without water, we cannot even think about a day or a hour. And it's very difficult to imagine a day without water. So, coming to the flood, let us look at what are the definitions of flood and what are the types of flood we have. First of all, the flood is a relative term. In relatively, it's when the water flow or the height of the water in a river or a stream or any place which goes relatively, in relative terms, if it goes beyond a particular level, it is called as flood. Say, for example, here, if this is taken out the banks of the any stream, if the water is flowing within the banks, it is not called as the flood. Like here, if it is goes beyond a certain height of the river, it becomes a flood. Similarly, I am trying to depict over here. And whenever we talk about the flood or any water resources planning, we always talk about the river basin. This anyway, I'm not going to explain much because every one of us knows the river basin is the point which all the water which just comes out of the particular catch or the area from where we are getting contributed to the particular point. It in fact has a low gradient to the low elevation to the higher elevation. When the water falls in the higher elevation, it comes down to the lower elevation and passes off to a particular point. At that till that point is called as a watershed or basin or catchment. We depends on the area with which we talk. We divide the watershed, micro, macro, then basin, catchment. It is in terms with relative to the catchment area or the area with which we talk about. In India, we have very. It is a map showing the flood zone of India. Basically, if you look at, we have northern part of the country has really severely affected by the flood. Basically, the Ganges plain and the Brahmaputra and Indus here, and some part of Godavari, Mahanadi, and Damodar Valley. But if you come to the peninsular India, there are hardly any places which have the flood or it's prone to the flood. This was the map probably which was prepared somewhere around 1980s and 90s. But if the government of India, the CWC with the state governments, they are now coming up with the new flood-prone maps of the India, the country. Probably then we'll have many blue spots across almost all the states. Let's hope that will come out within a year or so. How these floods are characterized? How are they happening? Basically there are few factors which are basically contributing or affecting the flood. That is, one is the weather pattern that can determine the type of flood. For example, when we have the cyclones are the one which wherever the area which are covered within the cyclonic area or the affected by the cyclone, we have very high rainfall causing the flood. Otherwise, normally, what happens? This is the most common type of flood, which even every town and every river basin or the riverine stretch gets it. Basically, what happens when a dam is constructed upstream, the downstream there is hardly any water flowing through our rivers, and what normally people do is, say for example, in the first case, this is a river, and this floodplain used to be the area of water of the river, which used to flow whenever this exceeds this bank. But because of some obstruction on the upstream, the water is not released or frequently released, and now the people start staying over by constructing or doing some activities. Now, as and when there was a increase in the river, river flow into the dam, and when the dam level goes up or the reservoir level goes up, and they are forced to release the water, and this water gets into this area, which is again now we call it as a flooding area, because it otherwise it used to be a property of the river, which whenever there is a high flow, it used to accommodate within that floodplain. Now floodplain being used by the people. Now whenever the water goes into this area, we term it as a flood, which otherwise not. And of course, we have several restrictions to define the flood. This is basically not happening in India, because we now, the government of India has decided the flood prone area, the area as per the definition of the CWC, anything which is covered beyond 10-year return period flood. See here, I have just shown it as 20 and 100. Now the government of India is coming up with a map which are the area covered the flood, or the flood of 10 years or more covering the area is called as the flood prone. So now we will have a sort of this. Now depending upon the different flood period and the area covered by that by the water, we'll have to have the classification. And if there is anything activity which goes beyond the 100-year flood, it's just more safe. But now what is happening because of the urbanization and construction activities across the many major cities, we are come down to the 10-year, and anything which is go beyond the 10-year will be now terming it as a flood prone area. And similarly, we can see if you convert the hydrograph to a flow, and then we can see how much is the area inundated. Now, one more thing I'd like to introduce here. For example, when we have a pristine condition of an area where there is absolutely no activities, the hydrograph used to be, or the flow used to be like this, because the area has certain properties of hydraulics and hydrology, which absorbs water and releases slowly, so that we have a very long period of longer duration hydrograph than a shorter duration. But whenever we have any activities done over here, the response will be very quick. Like in the urban areas, or even for a small amount of rainfall, we have a very high flow generating over an area, because we have reduced the permeability of that particular area by asphalting or by constructing concrete roads and many other activities. Thereby, we have the very high flows in a very short period of time that causes the sort of a flooding, which otherwise also called as an urban flood or riverine flood. It may happen even in the rivers, because upstream catchments, wherever if there was a heavy urban activities have happened, then this possibility is always there. And the other possibility is whenever there is a release of water from the dams, which is more frequently happening in Belgaum district and many other places. Now, let us look at what are the different types of floods are available. As I mentioned in my previous slides, one is river flood. When the water level in the river goes beyond a particular point, which is called as a flood, it is either caused by the torrential rains or because of the releases of the water from the reservoir. The other possibility is the coastal flood, which is basically happens when the cyclones are there and the river flows are entering, or tsunamis. So then there will be a stagnation of water on the plains and causing into a sort of a flood situation. Urban flood, just now I have explained you what is the urban flood, because we constructed, convert the land into different types of land uses, thereby having some sort of a problem. This is what Dr. Prakash sir was also showing you some of the pictures. This is, of course, a long back picture which I am showing. So basically, I like to introduce here. See, basically here, if it's a plain area without much of the effect, this used to be. But when we have make a lot of changes in the urban land uses, the peaks will be quite high and the duration is very small. So then we'll be having. So this is the urban one. The flash floods are basically happens because of the cloud burst or intense rainfall, which is happening in a recent years of last 2-3 years. We can see the rainfalls are very concentrated in a very short period of time, causing the flash floods, and many of effects of that we know that what are the possible effect of it. And of course, when we talk about much deeper into the floods, there are types of floods happening because of the single event rainfall, or multiple, or seasonal, dam break flood, or flood due to the drainage congestion. Basically, no, in a very frequently what we get is a seasonal floods and the flood due to the drainage congestion, which are most frequently happening in our towns and cities and other places of the more frequently affected areas. The factors which are affecting the floods are the intense rainfall, as I mentioned earlier, the failure of dams or levees, and the urbanization, and also because of the change in the topography, soil condition, and ground cover. This is, it's all a human anthropogenic effect because of the human nature of entering into the areas, clear it, do the convert the forest into as agriculture, thereafter into an urban area, or the civil societies or the housing colonies. All these are contributing and contributing to the occurrence of flood. This, as I explained, spilling of water from the stream due to the low carrying capacity, because this low carrying capacity could be of could be because of the siltation of the streams, or by encroaching of the streams. This could be one of the either of the problems. And flooding due to the failure of flood control structures, as I mentioned, because of the dam failure, or the breach of the tank, or something of that kind, would really really cause the flood. And look at what could be the possible effect of these floods at different scales. Locally, it may affect people, it may affect the agriculture, it may pollute the water because it may carry a lot of wastewater from other places, or enter into the the places where the dumping areas are there. It may be causing polluting the drains and other things. And of course, most importantly, it affects the normal life of the citizens because they are not able to commute or do any of their regular work or the like in the last year, many of the Belgamites had a very tough time when many of the apartments, especially the cellar part of the apartments, will get flooded. Even there were a news that some of the apartments, they were to open up some area, some rooms, and to get out of it. Otherwise, the entire cellar area was flooded. These are the some of the causes would happen because of the floods. At the national level, there could be a possibility of soil erosion, which again causes a problem. Either heavy siltation in our dams, or in the streams, or in the areas, which may have a sort of an effect in the longer run. It may have some sort of a traffic congestion as other problems, as Dr. Prakash was showing some of the pictures of Gurgaon in his speech. And floodwater may damage hut-made fisheries and standing crops large scale. And there are possibility of landslides which are happening in Western Ghats. It used to be earlier, we used to hear only the landslide cases in coming from the lower Himalayan regions, like in the state of Uttar Pradesh, the earlier Uttar Pradesh, and now the Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and Jammu and Kashmir. But in the last couple of years, even in the Western Ghats is witnessing a number of landslides because of maybe because of the climatic factors, or maybe because of the anthropogenic activities, or combined climate as well as anthropogenic. That needs to be looked at, and we don't know where we are heading off in terms of research in avoiding them or minimizing the losses. Even this year, we had the loss of many lives due to the landslides, even in Karnataka as well as in Kerala. Of course, because of this, there may be a possibility of insufficient stock of food and medicine to the cope the situation. This is exactly what had happened in Munnar. Just today yesterday, the Hindu has given a very nice article about what has happened in Munnar in the Kanandevan Hill, Kanandevan tea estate, where there was a heavy landslide, and many lives were lost. No, because of inaccessible roads, the state disaster management team could not reach in time, and they were not able to cross the streams because of the heavy flows in the very high flows in the river. And no, this also causes no problem in attending the relief work sometime. Now we talked about the effect of flood and many things, but we need to understand how, in order to devise the plans and methods to minimize the effect, we need to estimate first what are the type of floods we have, and what could be the amount of flood, like the what is the peak, or how it is traveling, how much it travels, what are the different section, how much water is going to come, many other things to make ourselves a sort of a plan to comprehend or to minimize the losses of life and property. In order to do that, we have three main methods. That is, one is called as the empirical method. Another is using the rainfall runoff models, or any relationship which converts the rainfall into runoff. And that also we use, and sometimes we use the statistical method, in which we have both the deterministic and as well as stochastic ones. In the empirical methods is a very simple method. Just we relate area, catchment area, or the contributing area up to that point of interest with the respect to the discharge, by having a sort of relationship. And also we can use the precipitation as another parameter. If we know what is the amount of rain coming in, we can easily calculate what could be the possible flood, or the amount of water which could reach over to a point of our interest. And in the rainfall runoff, we have several methods of doing this, from empirical to conceptualized to the physically based model. They are all continuous models. We can use it for hourly or sub-hourly to a daily scale. And from the deterministic point of view, we have several empirical physical based models which can be used. Stochastics, yes, we have probability methods, or mostly we use the statistical distribution with a probability to assess how much would be the discharge for a 10-year return period to the 100 or 500 return period, which will be basically we use it in in computing or translating the flood value into inundated area, or something like that kind. How we calculate, I have just given some of the slides to explain you how we normally do it using the statistical methods. If you have a number of years of records, we can use one of the what do you say plotting position method, and convert that into a different return period values, and then we can calculate using this graph what could be the return period as well as the nature of flood. And once we know the flood value, and we need to translate that flood value, how much it would inundate on the ground. That is more important, because that is the one which we are very interested in, not the flood value. We want to know if X value comes in, how much area would be underwater, and how we minimize that. In order to do that, we have several methods to do that. Okay. And using those methods, we basically develop different types of maps which are of useful to us. One is inundation map, which basically shows what is the amount of area, or the aerial extent of water, how much it would spread and how much it would get spread and cause the problem. Another is flood hazards. How much this map basically displays the result of hydrologic and hydraulic investigation, including extent of regulated flood. And basically this we use it for land use planning and land use and flood mitigation. And the risk we happen to combine with the both the hydrology and hydraulic, along with the socio-economic status of those area, to say how much would be affected by the people, the properties and their vulnerability level. How much this particular area is vulnerable for the flood, and that can be used as an information to develop the contingency plan to avoid or minimize the losses of lives and as well as the property. So to do that, develop those sort of maps, we have several methods, and that this one is called dam break and SMP dam break, flood wave, breach, cross, and mic flood. Many of these softwares are the proprietary item, except the HECROS. HECROS is a public domain software. Anybody can use it for analysis, and they can provide, they can develop their own way of developing, or rather delineating the flood prone areas. So in the recent past, the NH has conducted a couple of studies. One is for the Neersar tank in Dharwad, and another for super dam on the river Kali. And recently we just did an exercise on Rakascope tank in Belgaum. Here we have used that is a system called HECROS, that is a river analysis system, which is developed by the Army Corps of Engineers of US, which has all the possible hydraulic as well as hydrologic analysis, which can be very easily be used by anybody for delineating and understanding how much is the flooded area for a particular flood value. Basically, what the data required for this is the digital elevation model, which is freely available from the Bhuva or SRTM or any, there are a couple of sites from where you can easily download for an area of our interest. And the other information what we require is the probable maximum flood or the flood value of any return period. Probable maximum floods are not easily available, but now the government of the CWC as well as IMD has developed a atlas called probable maximum precipitation, which is available across the entire India, and all the major river basins have been given in that. And using that, we can very well compute the PMF by the procedures developed and available by the CWC. And of course, we require river cross sections of our area of interest. This is the super dam, which is here on the left is the super dam. I just want to map here how much area would be inundated when the super dam breaches. Okay, this is the dam section wherein I have tried to give some section which is going to be breached. It's assumed breach, and what could be the resultant flood area. Once with this breach parameters, I would be getting a sort of an inundated area of this kind, having an water depth to a height of around 100 plus meters all along the streams. As you see, there are very high water levels in the initial reach of the river. As we go down to the upstream of Bumnali tank, the river height, the water height in the river would go down. Of course, when we consider the backwater effect of Bumnahalli, the water levels would go up here also. That anyway, it's one of the study we just did for our understanding. And we can calculate what would be the time required for the flood wave to travel across the length of the stream. This again of very useful, because we'll be able to know what is the response time available for us to evacuate or plan for the evacuation and other things. And then gives you the vulnerability map, wherein we know that all along the stream is very highly vulnerable for the flood. That anyway, it's very easy to understand. But all along the breadth also, on the side of the river, we have very high very high indices of vulnerability, which also has a possible causes of damaging the properties as well as the life all along the rivers. You can see the blue is the lowest, but all other colors are very high. And for the Neer Sagar, we try to do the same analysis and you can see that flood wave travels at different hours, what I have given here, and takes around 14 hours to reach the downstream area of one of the point which we had taken. And basically, we try to look at the Dharwad, Hubli, Karwar highway, how much time it would take for a particular event. It would take a good amount of time for the major, it reaches the major stream downstream. And this is the showing the what is the availability at different times, this at different length from the dam. Here we try to look at how much area would be affected by this, and how much villages or the crop area or other things would get affected. You can see here the maximum, when if at all if it breaches, there will be effect on the crop area, because the villages are located on a little relatively higher elevation. So we are not get really, the people are not got affected, but the crop areas would get really affected when this sort of things happens in the near Sagar. And this is the Rucker scope. Again, the same sort of analysis we have done, and we try to look at the possible vulnerability indices. The one good advantage why I have taken the these three are, see, one is very high storage ones, and the Neer Sagar and Neer Sagar, very close to the Neer Sagar, there are very good number of villages are there which are potential or prone for the flood. But whereas on the banks of Markandeya River, which even in case of uh, the this Rakasko breaches also, there's hardly any effect on many of the villages, because villages are quite away from the main stretch of the river. So that is what we try to look at, how this, like except affecting the agricultural area, the river or the flood doesn't affect the livelihoods of the lives of the people, because the villages are little away from the flooded area or the flood inundated area. And this is just to give you an idea the vulnerability and their status. And if you see, higher the number of vulnerability is problematic, and number as the lower the number of the high the vulnerability is less affected. So here in, when we computed, there are only few areas which are very highly vulnerable, which is just close to the dam, and as we move down, there is not much of a much it gets affected by the flood water or flood wave. And as I mentioned, these are some of the utility of these maps. It helps us in identifying the critical point which would be severely affected in respect of property, life, and other social parameter, to develop evacuation plan for the flood affected area. And also, more importantly, it helps us in developing a emergency action plan. These are the utility of those maps. Before I before in fact really happens the flood, this also can be used to educate the people to mentally prepare to readiness to, or prepare their readiness to face the flood, and impart the awareness and prepare the people for the pre and post flood situation. And also it helps in preparing a plan for operating the reservoir or reservoirs in series to minimize the flood if heavy inflows are expected during the rainy season. And before I close my lecture, I just want to talk a little bit about the recent floods in Belgaum, especially in the city and around. In the city, for over last 20 years or so, after 2005 or so, we are converting all the lowlands into the housing colonies, which is very evident when we look at the land use pattern which is happening around in and around Belgaum. And again, we are not giving much attention in designing our drains and also cleaning the drains, especially just before the monsoon. If you look at any drains or major drains, in fact, when myself and Dr. Purandara, we went for around about a year or two, we went around looking for place, when smart city people have requested us, we went around to look for an ideal site for rainwater harvesting and diverting water from some of the major streams. We saw many places on the major streams are all are clogged, or they're just all debris are just over there and nobody is there to clean. And whenever we have a very good rain, that adjoining area would get immediately affected by that. And in the recent times, our all the major roads in Belgaum are getting widened, becoming 4 lanes, and the road dividers are becoming a sort of an artificial dams. They are constructing very high road divider without giving a proper drainages, because water has to flow across the road, or in case otherwise they need to have a sort of storm drains at the end of the road, which is not happening properly, because of which there are cases of water logging in many of the places in Belgaum. And the other point is encroachment of land on either side of the streams, which is very frequently happening across every places, and even in Belgaum also. And of course, major flooding happening because of the managing of the dams. And these are some of the points which we need to take care when we do the constructions and other things. Basically, when we look at this is the recent pictures. I don't know which I just downloaded from the internet. They say this is a railway goods shed road just beyond the railway station or around that place. You can see how much is the water flooded over the flooded over on a road. People are struggling to wade through it, and this is one of the locality in Belgaum, and which is get really flooded like anything. And the another, this is the divider case on our Congress Road, which has at the junction of our military Mahadeva temple, and as well as towards the Piranwadi, where the people had a difficult times in just about in the end. I think in the August month only. And as I mentioned, when we have the dams, unless until we have a good management of managing the flows in the dams and the releases of the dams. For example, this is the one dam and the another dam. They need to have a coordination between these two, when to release, how to release. And in most of the cases of dam operation, it's all conservative operations, what normally we follow, in the sense that we first fill up the dam, anticipating there won't be any major flows into the dam. But in the last 2-3 years, it's so happening. Almost all the dams are full, but we have 2-3 very good rains, which force the dam operator to release very heavy outflows. Rather, they keep the gates open so that they'll be releasing something like 1 lakh cusecs, 2 lakh cusecs, or 10 lakhs cusecs, like the 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs. So obviously, when this fellow releases, this fellow should have enough space to absorb it. Well, this fellow also already full. He has put the dam up to the full, and also it is not like that. No, it's opening a tap and releasing the water. But we cannot release the water in in one shot. It has to be very step by step. By the time he starts operating his dam, this water would reach on the water spread area, and there is not enough space to absorb this, and he will be forced to release more water and flooding the downstream. And when this water reaches the upstream area, where the already the the backwater is there, and it affects the velocity of it, and then it start backing up, and this entire area gets flooded first, and then because of this release, this area also get flooded. So in fact, it has a cumulative effect, and subsequently there will be a lot of loss in the life and agriculture and many things. So in order to have a better management of a flood, we need to have a coordinated consultations between these two dams, and also in a sense of operating it. Like whenever we develop operating rules of any dams, there will be a one minimum and maximum we normally give it, and within which they need to operate. And also depending on the demand of the downstream, if the dam is designed for the agriculture, they need to look at the demands of the agricultural demands as well as other demands, and they can always keep the reservoir at a very conservative level. But because of some both technical and socio-economic and socio-political issues, sometimes we always try to keep the dam at a very high level and inviting the problem. Of course, this is a topic of discussion and deliberation. This is basically why sometimes the floods are caused on the upstream of the dam as well as on the downstream of the dam. Okay. With this, I think I'll just stop my lecture, and if there are any queries or any questions, it's welcome. You can pose the question. Whatever my understanding is there, I'll just answer to that. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from one of our students, Swanand Ajgaonkar, sir.
Yeah, tell me, sir.
Which satellite imagery can be used to map the ongoing flood, that the data should not alter due to cloud cover?
In the recent times, it's possible because on the Google Earth Engine platform, many satellites pictures are available. Even maybe yesterday's image may be available today morning. So it's possible to do live flood mapping. Again, it all depends on what sort of satellite imagery we are using. Depending on that, it is possible. But in most of the cases, when there is a severe rains are happening, cloud covers are expected. If the satellite is with the microwave sensors, probably with a cloud free, if it is available, you can very well do it. And in fact, it's already been in progress. Even ISRO also presents some of the flood areas every day. You can even check in that. It's possible.
Thank you, sir. One more question is there from Saddam Hussein. What is the reason of flooding every year in Northeast India? Every year flood occur, and how to mitigate in Northeast region?
It's a very good question because Northeast is, we know, it receives very high rainfall, and one of the places in in the Northeast which receives the maximum rainfall in the world, which is about 11 meters.
And also must be Brahmaputra and Ganges.
Ganges, and especially the Brahmaputra.
Yeah.
Brahmaputra basically it gets heavy inflows from the China. One.
Yeah.
Second, the tributaries of Brahmaputra comes down from a very high elevation to the lower elevation. If you look at the aspect ratios or the relief ratios, is very high, and the response time is very, very low. Of course, as the moment Brahmaputra enters into the India, it becomes very flat. But the tributaries, they are the one which causes a heavy flood. There are many tributaries which have very high relief ratio. Something like it is coming from 1,000 meters to almost like 300 meters in a short period, a short distance. So it becomes a sort of a very difficult to manage and mitigate. And mitigating a flood of that kind is very difficult. But if you look at the people who have been there in the Northeast, they have devised their own way of mitigating. They know, they have learned how to live with the flood. Probably that is the only best way in terms of mitigating, rather than go with the hydraulic mitigation measures or structural measures. Is difficult for a river of Brahmaputra kind. It's simply not possible.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from audience or participants? They can raise your hand. Sagar, unmute them. In fact, it was wonderful presentation, sir, including basics of floods, causes of floods, types of floods, and mitigation. A lot of things we could learn through your session. Once again, I thank you for the nice presentation. Any questions from participants? If there are no questions, Purandar sir, anything to add?
No, thanks. No, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. One more question was there. G. Krishna Chandra. How we get data on HFL of an area? How do we get data on HFL of an area?
Yes. See, for example, if you are working with the flood and you know the river cross sections, and you route the water of a particular quantity, you can know what is the depth of water at a particular river cross section. And if you want HFL, you need to know with respect to what frequency of flood. If you want for 10 years or 20 years or 50 years, these have different consequences in planning and other things. Say, for example, 10 years, we basically go with an idea of managing the water within the banks. Also to give an information to the residents how much would be the level of flood in their areas. At least it's a very frequently happening one. Say 10 years is a small period, but if you the moment you go for 100 years and all, it is an event of once in a while. So HFL again depends on with what frequency we are looking at, and the HFL is only possible when we have the river cross sections and route the flood water through the river cross sections. And so far, no agency in India have calculated the HFL for all the rivers or streams across of India, because this is all site specific, and it's a really site specific, I can say.
Thank you, sir. So it's a. Should we close?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I have a great privilege to present vote of thanks on behalf of Mining Engineers Association of India. There is one question from Bhatt sir. Please unmute, Sagar. SK Bhatt sir.
It's not a question. I want to congratulate the Belgaum chapter for selecting a beautiful and the timely topic for this seminar. Thanks to the President, Secretary, and the Executive Committee members.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. So I have a great privilege to propose vote of thanks. At the outset, I thank both the speakers, Dr. V.S. Prakash sir and Dr. Venkatesh sir. Thank you for giving your valuable time for us, and we could learn a lot of things from your talks. All my students also were benefited about floods and flood management and other aspects of water conservation, etc. I thank our chairman, S.R. Hegde sir, Dr. B.K. Purandara sir, Sri D.A. Hiremat sir, our Vice President, MEI, Dr. Sri Madhusudana sir, and our President, Sri Sanjay Patnaik sir, for making this event a grand success. I thank all my students and participants for gracing this occasion and making it a grand success. Thank you one and all. See you again will plan for the next seminar. Thank you, one and all. We close it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.